Okay, let us examine this question, comparing two types of shoes. On the left is a sneakers, on the right is a soccer boots. So they say the soccer players wear soccer boots instead of sneakers. Explain how the boots help the player during the game, and it's a 2-mark question. Okay, if you look at the student answer, she presented the wrong concept. She talked about the boots having a smaller surface area in contact to the ground, allowing the soccer player to run without slipping. Okay, but the concept is wrong because I want to increase frictional force. So the answer provided here in the red is the correct answer. So you should write the starts. Okay, the starts, this part. Increase the frictional force between the boots and the surface of the field, preventing the soccer players from slipping over the field. So this is only 1 mark. You need to compare also because you see this word instead of sneakers. So you need to add in by mentioning the sole of the sneakers is smoother than the soccer boots. So this part of the sole is smoother than this because this one has indentations coming in and out. Okay, thus producing lesser frictional force between, this is a short one, between the sneakers and the surface of the field. Okay, so you take note of this. Similarly, I do a screenshot to send you all. Okay, part B, you take a look, part B. Okay, part B, let's see. Part B is application questions. They say the diagram shows the base of an animal paws. Okay, by looking at this animal paw and the question here, you can guess what type of animal is this. Okay, because they say based on the diagram above, explain how the structural adaptations enables the animals to move on ice. Okay, so you look at this. This is actually the paws of a polar bear. Very big paws. Okay, very big paws. And this claws actually increase the frictional force. Sometimes it's called traction. Okay, you heard of it called traction? It's spelled out this way, traction. Traction means increase the grip, something called the grip, G-R-I-B, grip. Yeah, the grip. Grip the surface because the ice is very smooth. So for this answer, again, the student gets 0 mark because you look at the answer, they say the animal's paws has stiff hair to decrease the surface area. It's not the decrease. In fact, the claws, right, and the stiff hair are to increase the frictional force. So the correct answer should be the claws and stiff hair increase the frictional force between, okay, very important, I must say, between what surface? Between the animal's paws and the surface of the ice, allowing the animal to move on ice without slipping off. So you take note of this. And as you do this one, I would screenshot this and I'll show you a YouTube on this animal. It's quite interesting. So just hang on. I forward this to you and I do a pause recording for a while. Okay, I'm showing you this video about this polar bear adaptations by this organization. Then you will have a clearer appreciation of how the polar bear paws is a very unique structural adaptation which helps the polar bear to survive in the icy environment. So sit back and relax this video.
Polar bears live across the Arctic in some of the coldest places on the planet. They walk across the Arctic sea ice looking for their main prey, seals. And they have some traits that help them do this and survive in this crazy cold environment. Polar bears have very thick fur that helps keep them warm. In fact, they have 2 layers of fur. They have a thick, fuzzy, downy layer right next to their skin, which would be like us wearing a woolly sweater. And then they have a layer of guard hairs, longer hairs over top. It's kind of like their raincoat. And these 2 layers of fur help keep them warm even when it's -40 degrees.
about minus 40 degrees centigrade in the Arctic, minus 40 degrees.
Polar bear hair is clear and hollow.
It's actually hollow because this part traps air, and air is a poor conductor of heat.
Just looks white to our eyes, and the hollowness helps trap warm air against their bodies. Polar bear skin is black. We don't really know why, but we think it might help them absorb heat. Polar bears have an amazing sense of smell. Their nose has so much surface area to pick up scents in the air. They can smell prey over a kilometer away when the wind is right. Polar bears have huge paws. They can be the size of dinner plates. The big paws help spread out the polar bear's weight on the sea ice so they can walk along really thin ice if they have to. Polar bear feet can also get smelly. When females are ready to mate, they send out signals through smelly footprints on the sea ice. And a male polar bear who picks up the scent will follow a female, sometimes for days on end. Polar bear paws are also kind of sticky. They have bumps or papillae on the bottom of their feet that help.
So this one, the papillae, is actually like, the pimples. They increase the traction, increase the frictional force.
Grip the ice as they're walking, kind of like your winter tires. They also have fur on their feet to help keep them warm, and really sharp claws that help.
Sharp claws, you notice, the sharp claws increase the traction. This part, you see, this part very sharp.
That help give them traction on the ice so they don't slip. Polar bear claws are thick and sharp. Their claws help them pull out slippery seals from underneath the water up onto the sea ice. Polar bears also have very big heads with really sharp teeth that helps them hunt their prey seals. You can see they've got big canines at the front, and then they've got very sharp back molars that help them shear blubber and fat off of their prey. The diastema, or the gap between the front sharp canines and the back molars, is perfect for helping polar bears grab a seal out of the water and pull it out onto the sea ice. You can see that all of these adaptations make a polar bear perfectly suited to live in the Arctic. They need sea ice to travel, hunt, find mates, and sometimes to den. Please join us in taking action to help conserve polar bears and the sea ice they depend on.
Okay, so you have seen this polar bear adaptation. So come back to these questions. Look at the claws, right? So the claws increase the frictional force. Okay, the claws and stiff hair increase the frictional force between the animal's paws and the surface of the ice. So take note of this, and I hope you have enjoyed the video which presented by this organization, which I shared with you earlier. So let's continue with the next question. If you do not have any question to ask me, I pause the recording.